Yes, indeed, folks. The sounds of George Thorogood and the Destroyers is bad to the bone. Yeah. I don't know, I'd kind of go for rock and roll racing online, you know. Just a bit of a hint for Blizzard there. It's Blue Please on WoW Radio with myself, Total Biscuit. Yeah, I'm going to try and fit in some more content. Yes, indeed. Extra content in the show. It's a bumper show. It's popping at the seams like it's just stuffed down 3 Big Macs in a 48-ounce chocolate shake. Now, quick announcement. More announcements. How more announcements can I give you? I mean, I could probably give you an announcement every single segment. You know, really. I've got all this cool stuff to tell you about. This one is actually kind of a personal thing, but thought I might let you guys know. I did a little bit of voice acting for a game a little while ago for Armor Games, which is a big company that makes Flash games. Hey, not big deal, you know, I know. But they made a game by the name of Warfare 1917, and they were looking for voice actors. So I went in and I did some voice acting for them, and they've used it in the game, and the game is now out. So these guys are very, very good at making Flash games. They've put out some really awesome stuff. Chances are you've probably played at least one Armor Games product before. So go and check it out. I'm going to give it to the IRC. Right? If you're not already in the IRC channel, you better be, because I'm about to give you the link. So get in the IRC channel. It's irc.mmoirc.com, # WoW Radio. I'll also post it on the forums after the show. I will try and read this out for you, but it's a little bit long. It's Armor Games, and it's not spelled the proper way. It's ARMOR Games. And no, Americans, you can tell me that's the proper way. No, it isn't. You miss out random letters. You're lazy. That's the problem with you. So yeah, Armor Games, ARMOR Games.com/play/2267/warfare-1917. So yeah. Again, armorgames.com/play/2267/warfare-1917. And if you still missed that, well, you can check it out on the channel, #WoW Radio at irc.mmoirc.com. So yeah, plug out of the way, time for some more content. Now, talking about homogenization. Now, the problem WoW's having lately, at least from what I've seen, and I called this, you know, I'm gonna say, I don't usually say I told you so, but I called this before TBC. When they announced that Paladins would be coming to Horde side, and, of course, Sharm's coming to Alliance. Now, I believe we were actually doing Epic back at the time, and we called it. We said, look, if this happens, this is a slippery slope towards homogenization for the sole purpose of easy balance. Now, you want to talk about easy balance, you can look at Warcraft 2. That was easy balance, because everything was identical. Aside from the spells and, you know, tiny little spell units. Of course, there were like 3 units on each side that actually had spells and abilities of some kind. And even then, people complained, oh, it wasn't balanced, oh, it wasn't balanced. Now, of course, Blizzard proved that, yes, it could balance a game with 3 distinctly unique sides and a bunch of abilities by making StarCraft. Admittedly, it took them about a decade to actually get it properly balanced. But yeah, why they're considered to be the most balanced RTS ever made, indeed the most balanced game ever made. And it's a difference. You've got 2 kinds of balance. You've got symmetrical balance, you've got asymmetrical balance. And asymmetrical balance is where you take the idea that, no, the factions are not the same, but their abilities complement each other, and when you take it as a whole, this faction is actually balanced to this faction. And if you don't counter a particular strategy, then it's you who suck, and not the fact that your units suck. You know, asymmetric balance is what every game seems to strive for these days, and indeed, that is what I believe WoW should be doing. And what they've been trying to do, you know, they've got 9 different classes, they're all trying to balance it up with 3 different talent trees for each, so you're looking at 27 total, you know, possibilities there, assuming, of course, that there weren't more viable specs, which there are. So, there is plenty to do. Not only that, but you've got to balance the fact that PvE and PvP are 2 different entities and require vastly different skills and talents and all that, and equipment and that kind of thing. So you've been looking at a case where it's been difficult, and a lot of people have complained, and a lot of people have whined. Generally, it's because of PvP, and that kind of bothers me. You know, I've never been a fan of PvP in WoW. I like the idea, but it turned out not to be as great as I thought. And ever since then, there seems to have been changing my class for people that play PvP, and I don't know why that is. You know. It's like, hey, let's rebalance Project Gotham Racing 3 so that the demo of Geometry Wars will work. It's the same thing. You change a minigame and it affects the larger game, and it makes the larger game worse. So yeah, never really been a big fan of that. However, they've continued along this line, and the problem I'm having right now with the beta is that you see a lot of these kind of cool, unique abilities being given to more than one class. Now, first things first, something that was announced quite recently, priest racials are disappearing. They're all going. They're going to the bye-bye bin. And in the bye-bye bin, you'll find all of those forgotten hopes and dreams that those priests had, and all the ideas for the fact that all of these different races were supposed to have unique racials, and all of these different classes were supposed to have unique racials, and yet priests were the only one that got them. And their reason to justify was, well, that it fits the law, you know. It fits the law that a night elf priest can get star shots, woo! You might as well roll a druid and do moonfire, you know, it's equally pathetic. Like, what else have you got? Desperate prayer, you know. Humans, desperate prayer. Great. What else have you got? Feedback. Whatever. What else have you got? Devouring plague, because, of course, undead, despite the fact that they are healing and using the light, and their magic is holy, we're going to have devouring plague, because, of course, they're evil. They want to eat your flesh with bugs and things like that, you know. Some priest there. But yeah, all sorts of different silliness, you know. Fear ward for dwarves. I suppose they need fear ward with dwarven females around, wouldn't they? Where's my rim shot? Where is it? I've lost it. My rim shot. Yes! The delivery. About 5 seconds out of sync, but it's still there. Anyway, so yeah, the idea of asymmetric balance seems to be something that's kind of eluding them right now, because they're getting rid of all of the unique variety stuff, making it talents or base abilities, and saying, here, there you go. It's like, what, we're supposed to thank you for that? I suppose some priests might be thanking you, saying, hey, look, we've got more skills. Everyone else is going to say, hey, look, we've got less variety. Thanks. You pleased, what, 1/9 of the population and pissed off 8/9 of it, you know? I mean, most people might say that, hey, it doesn't matter so much, but to me, again, slippery slope. And I said it before TBC. The homogenization thing starts here, with the Belfs and the Sharmies. You know, you got your Belfadins, you got your Space Shaman, you take those, and look, the game's got a little bit more generic. Because now both sides have exactly the same classes available to them. Now what? Both sides have exactly the same priest racials available to them. Now what? Well, there's been a couple of other things. Now, I'd like to concentrate particularly on Shadow Priests, because for me, Shadow Priests were the pinnacle of hybrid class utilization within a raid environment, yeah? Look back the way things used to be. Shadow Priests? No. Tanking Druids? No. Moonkin Druids? No. No. Shamans of any kind that didn't involve healing? No. No. All these kind of things, all these hybrid classes were only used for healing, yeah? And even warriors, you know, only really used for tanking. That was their primary role. That was what they were best at. And in the TBC, they actually made a genuine effort to change that and to make it different. And to say, hey, we can make hybrid classes useful. Is that a Zeppelin? Is there a Zeppelin overhead? I mean, really? I don't know. Actually, that seems like a plane. Oh, well, never mind. Could have been a Zeppelin. Freaking bombing run quests. Alright, so you took your Shadow Priests and you said, right, okay, this is how we're going to make them useful in raids. We're going to make them mana batteries, because this is new. This is something that hasn't been done before. The only mana regeneration that's happened previously has been Resto Shamans, and of course, Resto Druids with Innovate, and your healing... Not your healing, your Mana Spring Totem. And to be fair, Innovate's great, but it's only a single target, and Mana Spring Totem regenerated basically bugger all. So you were looking at using Mana Tide, which of course is a cooldown-based ability, to bring back mana. And you know what? It was kind of difficult, especially in 40-man raids, to have a Shaman in every group. So you're looking at 8 Shamans there. You don't take 8 Shamans. Heck, now you don't even take 5 Shamans, unless of course you're doing Sunwell. But yeah, they were looking into making something that was different. So they did. Mana Battery, a constant, damage-dependent way of regenerating mana in your group. Great idea, and it worked. Shadow Priests became useful again. People accepted Shadow Priests, they changed things around a little bit, and it's like, hey, now we've got Shadow Priests and Holy Priests, and they're both viable. Shame Disc Priests aren't, but, whatever. We don't care about those, they're PvP class. So, that was great, and now the problem is that they're changing it. They've got rid of the damage-based ability, and they've put in a different ability, and all it does is basically regenerates a set amount of mana to the entire raid, like every X number of seconds, and so the problem I've got with that is that not only have they then, changed the usefulness, right, so what you're telling me is that a damage hybrid class that wants to do as much damage as possible now no longer has the ability which made its damage actually matter, in a very significant way. It's like saying, well, your Shadow Priest ain't doing as much damage as the rest of these guys, so we're not going to take him along. It was okay, because as with a hybrid class, the point is, there's 2 ways of playing a hybrid. There's 2 ways of also balancing a hybrid. Either you make it so the encounters require that hybrids perform multiple roles at the same time, which is very rarely happened, Or, alternatively, you give the hybrids some kind of ability where their lack of damage or lack of healing in comparison to pure classes is shored up by alternative abilities that add a unique element of raid viability. Yeah? And that's how they did it. That's the good way to do it. That's in my opinion, the good way to do it. So, not only are they doing that to Shadow Priests, but they're also giving a similar ability to Survival Hunters and to Retribution Paladins. I was like, look, seriously, Blizzard, are you telling me you only had one idea? Really? Aside from auras, are you telling me you only had one idea for hybrids? And it's like, right, well, let's give this one to every other hybrid spec now. Survival Hunters? Really? Regenerating mana? What gives? Retribution Paladins? Come on. You can do better than that. And we know you can do better than that. So, why? Why are you being so... I mean, I wouldn't say lazy as such, but mediocre, run-of-the-mill. You can do better than that. And it bothers me because, again, slippery slope argument. What is required is diversification. That is quite clear. It is very important that classes diversify and that specs diversify and that encounters and raids, therefore, diversify to accommodate that diversification. So yes, diversification required on all fronts. You look at the ideas, you look at, well, what other things could you put into the game? Well, that are, existing stuff. Mana regeneration is an existing concept. What about a concept that is not an existing concept? What about they introduce some new stuff? I'm not going to suggest what. I'm sure they can think of stuff themselves. But what it brings in, you brought in new things before. Resilience, spell haste, 2 prime examples, brand new things. Heck, even plus hit, if you remember back in the day, way ago, they brought in plus hit. So yeah, they do bring in new stats, they do bring in new raid functionality, they do bring in new mechanics, so let's see some of that, so we can diversify the hybrid classes so they're able to get raid viability without being a carbon copy of another thing. This is what scares me. You can argue that you'll say, wait, well, this benefits smaller guilds, because that means you don't have to, go looking for a Shadow Priest and always have a Shadow Priest. You can have a Survival Hunter or a Retribution Paladin instead. Yeah, well, you know what? Here's the problem. For active guilds, what that means is that the Shadow Priest, who usually had a raid spot and had a role in the raid, now has less utility. And has utility that can be equally replaced, indeed bettered, by one of the people. Are you seriously telling me that Rep Pallies, Shadow Priests, and Survival Hunters are all going to have equal utility and equal damage output? Because if you do, I am going to tell you absolutely not. They're not. They are not going to have the same amount of utility. They're not going to do the same amount of damage. One is going to be favoured over the others. You know what that means? Min-maxing time, folks, because we're down to 25-man raids. We've got to min-max, and look, we have a new class to integrate. We've got an entirely new class with 3 different specs, all of which are apparently in some form raid viable. So we've got to put Death Knights in there, and we're looking, you look at the hybrid class and you think, good lord, I'm glad I'm not a hybrid class, because those guys are getting shafted. What's going to happen next? What is going to happen next? Are you just going to give all of these abilities to all of the different hybrid classes? How much more homogenization can the game take before it becomes mind-numbingly generic? You can do better. Blizzard, I know you can do better. Seriously. Let's see some diversification in raids. Because, to be honest, I've spoken to a number of Shadow Priests and they're very upset about this change, and I'm not surprised. Throw them a bone. Really, give them, if that's going to be the role of Survival Hunters and Rep Paladins, I would suggest that you find a new role for Shadow Priest. Or at least diversify the ways in which they regenerate mana. Make them regenerate in vastly different ways. I do mean vastly different. Because variety-wise, looks to me like the game's kind of going down the pan. And that would be terrible. I don't want to see that. So let's have a little bit more variety, please, in hybrid abilities, and let's diversify. Now, I'll be right back after this. It's another brand new track from Captain Dan. It's actually a cover of a Snoop Dogg track by the name of Gin and Juice, and this one's called Rum and Juice. In celebration of Talk Like a Pirate Day, my name is Total Biscuit. Arr! And this is Captain Dan and the Scurvy Crew, Rum and Juice. I'll be right back after this with yet more awesome content. Enjoy.